is Miriam Olken. I'm a local filmmaker here in Massachusetts and New England. I used to be the filmmaker liaison here at Boston Sci-Fi, and I'm a consultant now, and every once in a while I get to do these really fun panels. And we're here at Kamikaze. Thank you guys so much for having us, and I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Spencer Cohen. I'm a filmmaker, writer, and director. My first feature, The Compatriots, came out a few months ago and was on the festival circuit for the year before that. And yeah, so I got a lot of a lot of insight and information into how this thing works.
That's awesome. Hi, folks. My name is Troy Bernier, and I'm the director of a few festivals. I'll just name a few of them. I'm the director of the Outer Rim Science Fiction Film Festival in Baltimore, Maryland. Also, I'm the director of the Miami International Science Fiction Film Festival, which is completing its 13th season.
Congrats, that's great. So I just want this to kind of be a conversation. It's called Demystifying Film Festivals, so,
Yes.
you know, we'll be as honest as we can here.
Yes.
So I think the first question I want to ask is, you know, film festivals are a place of community and bringing people together. Do you feel like they still have a place in our crazy world right now, and why?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm just going to speak out
Yeah.
here. I had the most fun ever in the past year bringing the Compatriots all the way from Maui to Fort Lauderdale to, right here in our backyard in Woods Hole. And just getting to meet all the other filmmakers and the people who work at the film festivals, it was, I don't know, one of the best experiences I could have had. You know, right after finishing a film, you kind of enter this, depression almost. You're you're coming off this high of, 20 days or whatever, if it's a short film, 5 days and you're with all your friends and you're making a film together, and then you get into post and you're like, oh my god, what am I supposed to do with my life? What did I do here? All the mistakes pile up, and then you start applying to film festivals and getting some rejections and finally getting those acceptances and getting to have those acceptances and go to those places and meet the other filmmakers and talk to people finally brings you back to that high of actually making the film and getting to share it with the world. So I think we need that kind of collaboration, community now more than ever.
Wow. Man, I want to ask you some questions based on what you said.
Go for it, go for it, Troy.
But so I'll be a little light. First of all, my question would be, what was the length of the film? Mm-hmm. Did you have to do anything about that in the process? And to go on to your question, I think, I think more than ever before, this is a great time for festivals to exist. Because people have already expressed that not everybody, of course, but a lot of people have expressed that they want to be in environments that are highly social, which are offline social. They want to do things with each other in physical environments, not just go somewhere in a park and play Pokemon, imaging something. There are groups that do this, and they want to be together with people. And a festival, what it does, I can't speak about everybody's festival, but what mine's do is that we bring filmmakers out, provide them with a up-close, touch, personal experience, full assessment of their films, full assessments of their abilities, and we invite their fans to enjoy their films with them. So it's sort of like going to a small concert where, it's like at the, and I'm dating myself here, it's sort of like going to see Ministry at the Ritz, and it's the size of this, and there's 100 people in here, but you get a chance to hang out with the band. Massive Attack. That was Miami. I'm hanging out having drinks with Massive Attack, at Madonna's club, so you have this up-close personal relationship that you could build with filmmakers. They're from all over the planet, and you all get to experience high-quality science fiction together, which is rarely produced on the big-budget projects. So I think that this is a great time for the filmmaker, for many reasons, and it's a great time for the viewers for many reasons. Do it. Don't hold yourself back. Do it. How long is it going to stay like this? I don't know.
I mean, I would chime in, making current events. I'm sure everyone in the film industry has heard of Markiplier. I don't know if I said that correctly, but Iron Lung is a big deal. I mean, it's almost bringing hope to the little people that this man who's been doing these YouTube videos for years made a $3.5 million sci-fi thriller horror movie and almost beat, Sam Raimi's movie at the box office. It was kind of like the David and Goliath story. I mean, so, that community came together because there were only, 60 theaters, I think, originally, and then the audience said, hey, we want more, and the audience demanded it. So I think film festivals, again, it's just so powerful to have an audience.
Yes.
So.
Use your festival wisely. First of all, always support your local festival. You're doing yourself a favor. One, you're going to learn something without spending too much money. And the second thing is that when you get your film in a certain number of festivals geographically situated, it could help elevate you to the next level of a theatrical release. We're seeing that with some people that know how to do it, right? That know how to do it without spending too much money. We saw that this year, right, with Infinite Husk.
We did. Anything you want to say?
The other thing I'll say on it is, especially for a lot of indie films, this is like their time to screen the film with an audience. It can be very hard, like we're talking about, to get your film in a theatrical release. And so for me to go to those 14 whatever it was film festivals and see it in an audience the way I dreamt the film up was really important, especially for my film. There's elements of comedy in there. And that works so much better in a theater surrounded by other people than it necessarily does when you're, sitting at home and barely paying attention on your phone. Like, it just breathes so much more energy into the film. And I think those people coming out of those screenings just have such a different idea of your film than they would have if they sat at home. So that was something I loved about going to film festivals, going to my film festivals. I'm now screening for the narrative features for the Woods Hole Film Festival. So I did that last year, and so getting to choose some films and go see them in a theater was just amazing, and amazing for those filmmakers.
That's great.
What I could add to that is one of the things that festivals can do that all other venues really cannot. Of course, you can have a private screening, but you get feedback from your film. And festivals have the ability to customize how you can collect feedback, whereas they could show a QR code and direct the audience to a form as complex as they would like, and you get that feedback. So if you're in the stage of it still being a work in progress, MiSciFi accepts works in progress because we're okay with knowing that the film's good and getting the final product and it being a world premiere, right? That's a great thing to obtain. So it's another way of using festivals to work to your advantage. Where which makes me ask this question: how many cuts do you have of your film?
Ooh.
Question.
Oh my gosh.
Come on.
So many. I think the thing that behooved me was I'm an editor by trade, so that's kind of how I started in this industry. And so, as Miriam can attest, because she was the AD on my feature, I knew exactly what I wanted going into the shoot, and I knew when we could get out of scenes, what shots we needed to cover, all that, because we had to shoot 105 pages in 20 days, and we were moving around to like a crazy amount of locations, which was ambitious to say the least. And yeah, we did it, but it was great because when I had an assistant editor on set, and so by the time we were like a week out of production, I had an assembly cut of my film. And I was able to see, like, okay, this works. Now how do we, like, whittle that down, and how do we make it a very succinct and tight story? No scenes got cut out of the movie because they were all imperative to the story, and that's the way I wrote it. But that first cut was probably like an hour 45, and the film is now 94 minutes. So we cut about 10 minutes out, I think. And I probably went through 15 to 20 different versions of the film.
Okay, so let me say something from the other side of that, from the producer side. So from the producer side, you have a minimum of 3 versions of your film. Everybody does. There's something called the festival cut, which falls into that festival's guidelines. So if it's a short, don't get me wrong, it's okay. We love films that are, say, 20, 25 minutes long, because science fiction, there's always some world building that's involved. So it's easily 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes long, just part of the world building that goes on top of that 12 minutes. But many festivals, they want films to be a certain length, regardless, those programmers, right? So if you want to get into their festival, it has to fit into that little box, right, when it's a short. Even a feature, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen all of these 2-hour-long features. I'm like, dude, listen.
Do me a favor, all first-time filmmakers, please, if you're making a feature, please make it 90 minutes or less. Way less. Please, we don't save the money to make your other project that's 2-hour plus. Please.
Or do understand you sell your film 3 times.
Exactly.
And there's the festival version of your film. There's your version of the film, and then there's the extended cut, which is going to bring you those Temu, what do they call it? Tubi dollars of ad revenues of all the commercials that you can ring up in the film. It does matter, and the film has a lifetime, so it has its post-production life, which ends up in a festival or something, and then it has its big, you've sold it, so it's somewhere, and then it has its end cycle. And that's 5 years later. This end cycle where it's on a streaming platform, just bringing in little residuals or whatever. But that's the typical lifestyle. There are people that are trying to change all of that, and they want to buy your film for the next 20 years. I don't know who in the world's going to, but don't ever do that, because you want to be able to participate in as many of those cycles as you can. Because if you've got 5 films that are just generating residuals, you've got craft services taken care of for your next film.
That's right, very good. And I also want to chime in here, libraries, like your body of work is so important. I'll give an example, the Safdie brothers, they didn't just make Uncut Gems one day or Good Times.
Yes.
They were here at BU cranking out these little, tiny, small films, and they just amounted. And now, what do we want to see on Criterion? Or on another service? We want to see their films. We want to see what Christopher Nolan's first film was amazing. The short film, was it Metamorphosis or something? That was incredible. Or I'm going to butcher her name, Julia Ducournau from Raw. I watched her Junior, her short film. It was brilliant. So filmmakers are able to make a collection of their work, and they are the Hollywood needs us, I think. So I think it's, again, really important what you're saying. Know your audience and know the length of your film. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah. I would like to also ask, the technical side of film festivals, because I think there's a lot of, pomp and circumstance, and there's beautiful festivals, and there's laurels and all kinds of things. But what is really going on during the surface? Personally, myself, I'm applying to film festivals right now for my own film, but I've gone through this process a couple times, and I feel like, sometimes I got it, and sometimes I just didn't know what I was doing. And I feel like filmmakers are wasting money by blindly submitting. And can you talk about that process? Let's talk with you, Spencer. Can you talk about that process, please?
Yeah, I blew a lot of money early on. We shotgun submitted to the top 30 film festivals, and a lot of them on late deadlines based on when we made our movie, and we got some bad advice to do that, and that was a terrible decision. We wasted thousands of dollars, probably maybe $3,000-$4,000 on these film festivals that were never going to accept us, because when you go back and you look at the films that got into those film festivals, they either had a connection to there, they had an actor who had been at that festival for multiple years, they had a producing team who had been to that festival for multiple years, they had this budget, they had XYZ, they were from that location. So there's so many different things that go into why a film festival takes a film, and I did not get that when I first started submitting my feature to these film festivals. I had a little bit of short film submitting in the past, but this feature film was kind of my first foray into like really going out into the world of film festivals. What I started to learn, and that it's heartbreaking, because every time you get a rejection from one of these film festivals, it feels really personal. Like this is your film is an embodiment of you, all your values, your life, like what you want to put out there into the world, and to just constantly get hit over the face with rejections is really difficult. And I could have saved myself a lot of emotional and mental pain by just doing my due diligence, doing my research, and finding the film festivals that screened films that were similar to my film over the past 5 years. And then once I got into the Woods Hole Film Festival, that's what I started doing, was saying, okay, let me go back 5 years. Let me look at all the films that film festival screened. Are they screening comedy dramas with a social message? Do they have those? And if they didn't, I didn't submit to them, no matter how nice the name was of the film festival, because I knew that my chances of getting into that film festival were limited. And I needed to save myself the money. The other thing, too, was the late deadline issue. Not all film festivals, but some film festivals, they will accept films before the deadlines are up. So there was a film festival in particular that wanted to secure a state premiere for our feature, and they took our film 3 weeks after I submitted. Like, they gave me the acceptance letter 3 weeks after I submitted, and they were still collecting applications on Film Freeway for films for like the next 3 months. So, that's a slot that now no longer exists for another filmmaker. And that's not all film festivals. I think some do it differently. At Woods Hole, we every film like sees the light of day and has a chance at one of those slots. But there are some film festivals that will take some early, and then, okay, if they have 10 slots for narrative features and they've now booked 8 of them, and they took 6 from Sundance and they took 3 from South by, like, you're fighting over a small amount of slots. And that was something I really didn't understand. And once I started to see what films got into the film festivals I was rejected from, that was like, it still kind of hurt, because I was like, well, maybe you shouldn't have taken my money. Like, if you were never gonna accept my film in the first place, like, you should have just pushed it back to me. But film festivals need their operating revenue, and it's not a cheap thing. I don't run a film festival, so I don't really know, but it's not a cheap thing to have all these volunteers and staff and screen films and all that, and so I get it to some extent, but yeah, just be really smart about it, and do your research.
Yeah, you learn quickly.
Thank you for being honest. I really appreciate it. The audience appreciates it.
You learn quickly there, because, and I can't speak for everybody's festival, but at MiSciFi, we typically close the door 2 months to a month before the festival. The earlier the better, because we want to give people time to come. We've been very, very fortunate where easily 40%, sometimes more, films are represented at the festival. People come, filmmakers and their crews come to the festival. We've been very, very fortunate with that. But I can tell you that I've gone to festivals a month or even weeks before MiSciFi, and we'll see a film. You're in the fest. You want to come to Miami? Yeah, we've done that. We do that. We do that, and we're probably going to do it again this next year. So, we see good content, we program it, and we don't. Of course, you get a film that comes in, and it's so freaking good. It's like, oh my God, this film's going to be in there. This definitely. But we don't make final decisions until literally the end of the line. Because you never know what could happen, and because you still could get a film that's so incredibly good, it takes precedence and it bumps others off the track. That will happen. That's like any other contest. So I think you're doing a really good thing, which is what I tell a lot of filmmakers. Take a look at what they're playing. Who are these people? I'm not gonna say what about, but wherever you send your film, you want to make sure that they play stuff that's similar to what you have, because they're going to celebrate you. That's the whole purpose. They're going to celebrate you. How far it goes is depends on the festival. So I think that's a very important thing that you have to look out for. There was one other piece that you mentioned.
Oh, I was talking about, talking about the technical process. So you're a director of a film festival. I mean, is it Film Freeway? Is it Friends and Family? Like, how do you folks find the programming, or how do you accept the film?
I've heard, this is not my festival, but I've heard someone say that they let their children make the decision.
Oh my goodness!
I was like, why would you say something like that? Anyway, so at MiSciFi, we have a very large list of judges that watch content, and they have to produce. We collect metrics. I'm a data scientist. I'm a geologist. I like numbers, and not only numbers. We look at subjective information. We want to know, what's this all about? What does it mean, this film? So we collect a lot of information that we use to judge a film. And so if someone ever came to us and complained, and let's say it ended up on the news, we have a receipt of who watched what and a timestamp, so we know, the film was watched and this is the score it has, and if it was a bad film, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we collect digital information since day one, and I give lectures during the festival, where I'm willing to give people continuing educational credit certificates as a filmmaker, because I think that's important. And we provide analysis on how well the world is doing based from the perspective of our festival. So we can tell you where in the world films are coming from, on an annual basis, whether they make it or not. And we think that's highly important, because it shows what's going on in social media, because people are learning all of this stuff, learning everything from social media, and they're replicating it, and we're seeing these metrics through, at least from the lens of MiSciFi. So some very interesting things are happening in the world right now in the context of science fiction.
Well, I mean, themes are a big thing. There are some festivals, some years where there's a theme, and there might be an amazing film. It just doesn't fit the theme that they're going for, and it's a hit or miss. Could you talk about where there's a particular theme, one season you had it at Miami?
Yeah, we'll accept it. So this past season is called the Off-World Experience. It's MiSciFi, the Off-World Experience. I totally love it. I'm probably going to replicate it for a few years, because it totally fits what we're doing. And it also coincided with the coldest day in 130 years in Miami.
Wait, how cold? How cold?
It was 37 degrees in Miami 2 weeks ago.
No.
Okay?
Yeah.
And
I'll give it to you.
yeah, and they don't have the capacity to make heat. So people were in parkers and bubble, freezing. And I'm speaking to the audience, and I'm like, well, guys, just to let you know that it's the theme of the festival is the Off-World Experience, and you're freezing your butts off. And they started, what? They all started yelling and screaming, it's your fault, But, so it's pure sci-fi. Our message is pure sci-fi, but we'll get some fantasy, we'll get some horror, which is part of our roots from the very beginning, because at the very we had no idea what to expect. So we'll accept everything and just pick what comes out. And so, yeah, we had some films that are what I qualify as a rom-com, sci-fi rom-com, which don't really fit. A woman was, I can't say these things, he's recording, but saying these bizarre things about her devices that have AI in them. He gets it, and it doesn't fit the off-world, but does it? I guess it does. So we always allow extra. We have the general content, the general type content, which are programmed accordingly, but we have stuff that's on the fringes. We're very open like that.
I think that's great. I mean, that's how you build your community.
Yes.
There's the niche. There's also word of mouth. And word of mouth is so powerful. Somebody can say, oh, I saw this film last night. And oh, wait, I want to know more about it. So that you can generate that at a festival all the time.
Yes.
I mean, and then Spencer, your theme of your film, I mean, without going too much down the rabbit hole, without taking our attention from film festivals, can you talk a little bit about how you really thought about the theme for your film?
Yeah, so my film is a comedy drama about immigration. It's based on my relationship with my best friend, who's a dreamer. So he was brought to this country when he was 11 years old, and I didn't know about his status until senior year in high school. And I went off to film school, and for years we talked about how do we tell this story. Like, it's absolutely insane that we grew up, doors down from each other, and we live such several lives where you don't have the same rights I do in a place that, you've called home for 20 years. And our favorite movies growing up were buddy comedies, so films like I Love You Man, Superbad, Step Brothers. And we were like, okay, we're not going to go as far as like Step Brothers, but like how do we tell the story of immigration but in a buddy comedy? And so that was like kind of the impetus for the Compatriots. And so yeah, it was actually like it touches like so many different themes and subjects and people, and I really went after film festivals that were looking for something that had a little social edge to it, but also would accept something in the comedy drama genre and recognize that like this is an incredibly serious topic, and we are handling it with this like very high level of authenticity. And not making fun of it at all. Like that was not the point of the humor. And I think we found that in all these film festivals that we went to, and we found that community. And I mean, it was just amazing. Like going to festivals like Fort Lauderdale and Chelsea and New York. Like the amount of people that came up to me after and were like, "I've never seen myself like that on screen before," was just like the best experience I could have had. Being a white director, like, and this, like, we put so much effort into making it a super authentic film, and a film that wasn't for white audiences. Like, it's for dreamers, it's for people who are, undocumented. Like, they will get the most out of this film because of the fact that we surrounded ourselves on the cast, the crew, in the writing process with people who have lived these lives, and that really comes through on screen. It's very authentic. It's a very authentic story, and that just showed in the film festivals, and having people come up to me afterwards and tell me about their immigration story, and they had their green card marriage like 30 years ago, and they were like, this is exactly how the immigration office scene like went down. Like, how did you know that? And I was like, well, we talked to 20 people. We did our research. We like went in and dug deep. And so yeah, that was the best of the film festivals, was just getting to meet the audiences afterwards.
That's probably the best result you could have. I mean, that's the thing. That was it. Someone said the other day, and I also feel the same way. Once you put your baby, your movie, whatever is out into the world, it is not yours anymore. I think it was Rob Reiner that said something like, you're sharing it with people. So you're making the creative process, cast and crew, you're doing the editing, you're making the product, and then all of a sudden you put out in the world, and it's this beautiful butterfly, and everyone will relate to it in a different way. So I think also film festivals are underrated because you meet so many incredible people, you see different perspectives, it builds empathy. I feel like empathy is such a powerful thing that we need more of, and I think everything revolves around storytelling. Commercials, film, was it campaigns for things? Like, storytelling is so important, and I feel like if we built more empathy in our world, maybe we wouldn't be so crazy right now. That's my hope. But I mean, I think that's also great that you had such a great experience, and there are people you've never met before that came up to you that have this thing. You might also have inspired other filmmakers. I mean, that's what the folks were doing for us in, I think, the 60s and 70s. They were having a revolution that I think our younger generation is I'm very excited about. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think the future, it's going to be bumpy, but we have some great art that's definitely coming.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. There's some incredible art. There's incredible creative people. But on the other side of that, I think there's a subtext of AI that's trying to derail this and control it because it can. And we are dealing with a lot of AI issues at our festivals, and we do not accept We no longer accept anything that has. Now, there's a difference between AI and AI tools.
Yes.
Okay, they're very different, very, very different things.
Very good.
You know, so someone is using an Adobe product and it has AI tool which allows them to extend the scene, or you know, it's exceptionally good in rotoscoping.
Yes, it is.
It's like the best thing
Scary.
since sliced bread with rotoscoping. You know, so it's a tool, but for people that have no background, don't know anything about the films, don't, you know, they'll actually tell you, I did this in 15 minutes. Okay, so it could sell for $15. Okay, great. You know, you know, there's so much of that now, and it's like there's no way in the world am I going to allow something that took you 15 minutes to produce to compete with somebody who took 3 years to produce. You know, so, but there are festivals that will. So you have to, like you mentioned, Spencer, you have to understand what your competition is and where you're sending your content. Because
how are you gonna know?
Great question. Yeah.
Sorry.
no,
Go
no,
for
by
it,
all
go for
means.
it.
How do you know?
How do you gonna
That was
know?
my question.
Unless he tells you it's 15, it took you 15 minutes. How do you? I mean,
Many people are very open with what they're doing because they're very proud that they were able to do this. So they're going to tell you. You know, you ask them, they're going to tell you. And this is one of the reasons why, and this is to filmmakers in particular. To filmmakers, you must. It is in your interest to fill out your Film Freeway profile. We want to know a little bit about you. Put a couple photos. Don't be afraid. It's okay to tell us that you're from Springfield, Indiana. Okay, that's not a mark against your film. We actually want you. You know, if you're from West Virginia, Ohio, in your United States production, we want part of the people to know that there are people making films in Arkansas. Okay, so you'll be surprised how many don't put credits. I'm like, well, we're a technical
Don't put
festival.
credits.
Yeah,
You,
I'm like-
you gotta fill out
I
the
sent an
Film
email
Freeway
out
account
I
correctly.
I sent an email account telling to everybody who submitted that we're paying attention who is in the film. So if your film doesn't have the credits listing, there's a good chance your film may not be accepted. In like a week, it's like, what is stuff?
It's like college applications. You just unfortunately have to do the admin work.
Yes,
it's not fun,
yes,
but it's
very,
worth
very
it.
important, very important. You know, so you know, there's just this subtext of AI that's trying to take over. And to answer your question, how can you tell? Because AI is far from perfect, number one. And number two, it's copying from somebody else's work. That's how it works. So when someone says, no, it's not I use this to make, okay, you could, but when I see it, or a judge sees it, and they say, that looks like a scene in Blade Runner. And they never saw Blade Runner.
The horror. Come
You
on,
get it?
guys. Watch,
No, but it's
watch
okay.
your
You know, that was
classic
how many
film
years
history.
ago? Blade Runner was how many decades ago, right?
You know.
So there are people who've never seen Blade Runner. This is where we are now. It's okay. But you're in trouble if you didn't do your homework. Which, once again, shows that it only took you 15 minutes. But the third most important thing is when they use these cheap AI tools, it produces something called AI slop. And AI slop is where, you know, you can tell because the person may turn their head in a certain way, but the ear did something different. You know, you got to watch it a couple times, right? If you're using a phone to watch it, yeah, you failed already because you're not using the right format to look at anything. You know, so there's so many ways to see things that are made with AI and not. What the AI is great for is great for using as a tool. It's really machine learning. It's not AI. But what AI, yeah, but what AI really is good for that I can tell you I am enjoying all the extended Star Wars cuts.
Yeah,
They're taking
baby.
these Star Wars scenes and they're using AI to extrapolate. I don't have a problem with that. Yes, it is copyright infringement, but Lucas and company said it's okay. He said it's okay to make fan films with his Star Wars content. So there's nothing wrong with that. Glorify it. I want to see more Mando anyway, especially with little Grogu in it. So, but Star Trek, yeah, they go high hell, going crazy over it, and the franchise has been gutted. It's kind of crazy what happened to Star Trek, and now I'm taking up too much time. Stop me from doing that. Starfleet Academy, which I'm sure most people haven't seen yet, but it's actually good.
That's what I've heard from everybody.
It is so freaking good.
Yeah.
What they're doing with it is what Mandalorian did with the Jawas and the Sand People.
Which they did very well.
Yeah, they showed us the Sand People. Where the Sand People? We know the Sand People are on a desert planet, right, called Tatooine. After watching Boba Fett, which was also vilified, we learned that the Sand People, their planet Tatooine had water in the past. It went through some sort of tectonic, problem, and all the water evaporated. And they were talking to each other with sign language.
I will also jump in here too that audiences are smarter than we think they are.
Yes.
There was a recent thing. I love Darren Aronofsky. I have been fortunate enough to work with some of the makeup artists that have worked on all of his films, and they are brilliant people. But I don't know why he chose to make an entire Revolutionary War TV show just all AI. And so it's been put on, I think, YouTube. And the feedback has not been great. Are we surprised? So again, if you use AI as a tool, I think that's really important, even for film festivals, understanding what you're doing, what you're not doing,
Yes.
but not abusing it. I mean, I
Yes.
think media literacy is so important.
Yes.
I took the New York Times test the other day. I got 8 out of 10. I missed 2. That's embarrassing. Or when my friends will look at each other working in the film industry, it was like, did you watch the Coca-Cola ad? Did you see the twitch of the squirrel at the end?
Oh,
And we're like,
See?
oh, that's an AI commercial.
See?
So we're teaching
See?
each other media literacy. I also think that film festivals, when we're building audiences, we're building our own kind of education. We're supporting each other. And, I want to know, like, what was your best festival experience, or some of your best festival experiences, please? I'm dying to know, because you were like the indie darling of the year.
Oh yes.
You got into a lot.
That's very sweet. Probably Woods Hole, just because it was like our premiere, and we were so close to where we shot in Boston, and so many people were able to come down to the Cape for that night, and we packed the house. We sold out the screening.
We did.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, it's like 150 seats or something like that. It was a pretty serious sellout, and oh my god, it was it was very nerve-wracking, because I had, I'd shown it to a few people before, but never like 150 people, and it was a friendly crowd, because it was, a lot of the cast and crew, and some other locals from Woods Hole. I'd been there for a week, astroturfing the place, and telling people about my film, which was really helpful. And it was a beautiful experience. It was very cathartic for me. We had a great Q&A where we got to talk about the film, and there were so many people there, so just talk about all the people who went into making something like this was wonderful. Other great experiences, and I have an 18-month-old son now, but he was 3 months old at the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival, so we flew down with him to Fort Lauderdale, and so that was really fun to, like, I actually didn't go into the screening. Yeah, I didn't go into the screening. It was the first screening I went to the Ojai Film Festival, which was a wonderful film festival, and they played a movie called Los Freakies, which is amazing. You should go see it. It's wonderful. It's by the guys who did Peanut Butter Falcon.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So Tyler the director, like, got up there, he introduced the movie, and then he left, and I was like, that's the coolest, like, Hollywood move I've ever seen. Like, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I'm not gonna watch it with you guys. I'm gonna leave. And so I sort of did that at Fort Lauderdale and hung outside with my 3-month-old baby instead of being in the screening, and then came back in with him.
No, but you came in for the Q&A.
For the Q&A,
You gotta come for the Q&A.
Yeah.
That's
So
okay.
yeah, I just sat outside for the actual screening, but we had just an absolute blast, and those are some of the highlights.
Cool. What about you, Troy? I mean, you've gone to other film festivals.
Oh yeah. I'm missing Other Worlds Austin.
Oh,
I'm missing Other Worlds Austin.
I feel the same way.
BB Bears.
Yep.
He was now a she. Last I know. But that was a wonderful festival. I picked a lot of films out of that festival.
You did. My short played before a feature a couple of years ago, and that festival was amazing.
Yeah, really good group of people in Austin. Great place. If you like steak, Beef butter, guys. Beef butter. It's unbelievable. You're gonna get sick, eating all of this. But I'm missing them. But as far as festivals that I personally have been in, I've been spoiled a lot. And the film About Me, Journey to Planet X, debuted at Tribeca.
Congratulations.
Which was an incredible media experience. We were number 2 at Tribeca. So everybody interviewed us. It was like people I didn't never heard, countries I've never even heard of at the time. It was an incredible experience. And then there was Little Rock, which was an incredible, also no longer with us. The Little Rock International Festival, unbelievable experience. The Flyway Festival, which is a very small boutique festival up on the headwaters of the Mississippi River in Wisconsin, between two little towns.
Wow.
Two little towns got together
What's
and
it
made a
called?
festival. It was called. They're still around. The
Okay.
Flyway.
The
The
Flyway.
Flyway Film Festival.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful experience. Also was Sitges. Sitges,
Oh my God,
which
my
is
favorite.
that's like the mother lode of science fiction.
Yeah.
But they do a lot of horror too.
They do.
The Spanish are real funny, real exciting people. I highly recommend it. It's very expensive to get over there, but it's good. And then Sedona. Sedona was a beautiful experience.
Sedona's a wonderful festival.
Yes. And then of course Michael Moore. I was at Michael Moore's festival, and that's in Traverse City.
What's
Traverse
that
City,
one called?
the Traverse City Film
Traverse City,
Festival.
okay.
They were unbelievable.
Great.
In all of these festivals that I mentioned, it was VIP for me. It was the VIP experience, and I took all of those experiences, and that's what contributes to the production of MiSciFi.
I think that's great.
That was the way I gave back
I mean,
by producing MiSciFi.
that's huge. I think that's great. You mentioned, but all the festivals you've mentioned now, I haven't heard Sundance, I haven't heard South by, I haven't heard Cannes, and I think this is awesome because I think a lot of filmmakers, I feel for some of them, they make these beautiful films, they submit to Sundance and they don't get in and they're very upset. And I just feel like there's so much more than, I mean, look, Sundance is amazing. I've been fortunate enough to have work that's played there and I loved my experience there, but it's not, everyone doesn't have to get into Sundance. I think there are a lot of other film festivals that are local or have these amazing experiences that should be celebrated
Yes.
and gone to and experienced.
Yes. So think of it as, the Sundances, Tribecas. What's the one in Toronto?
Oh, TIFF.
TIFF.
Yeah, TIFF.
Festivals like these, which are the very top, South by Southwest top. I'm not going to say they copied from me.
No,
but
it's all
but these are like the premier media houses, and each one has its place on a tectonic plate of our planet. So that's one thing. And if you have the money, because you need the money to have that production quality and artistic quality to fall into that. The third piece that you mentioned, Spencer, you actually got to be alumni in some capacity. What that means is you know somebody, the actor was somebody, right? So there's some in vector. It doesn't have to be. Because
helps.
how many people have heard of Cargo? Cargo, the one from India.
Nope.
Anyway,
Sorry.
Cargo debuted at South by Southwest and MiSciFi the same week. We had it before South by Southwest. And I told them,
You have good taste.
all right, we're going to let them get the world premiere because I'm not going to let anything mess you up. I'm giving you that. Because we had it first. And I actually moved my festival back so they could have it first. Because
very kind of
of what's going to happen to them. What it meant for science fiction. We got to have a win, right?
Yeah.
And it broke the internet on Indian Netflix. It did that well for months. I was doing support. I was calling Google support in AdWords, and I said, "Hey, you guys ever heard of Cargo?" The phones lit up. They're like, "Yes, oh my goodness." So
You were a champion. You were a champion,
Yes.
a cheerleader, and a producer of this
you
film.
have
Yep.
to, and you have to be there for these opportunities because there's always one every year. There's always one every year. That's this incredible film. We always get one every year, sometimes more. This year we had about 3 like this.
That's great.
But my point is that you have the festivals that are super big, super popular. A couple films get in, but you also have the secondary tier, like festivals like Sci-Fi Boston. You've got Sci-Fi London.
Oh, I've been to Sci-Fi London twice. I love Louis and his team.
Yeah,
Yep.
you have now coming back is Berlin. Sci-Fi Berlin
Yes, I
is
saw
coming
that.
back.
Mhm.
You know, they're growing and they're coming. And you have what's Jonathan's festival? Film Quest.
Yes,
Film Quest in
is
Provo.
great.
You know,
Film Quest is great.
Utah gives him the town.
Yeah, it does.
The only reason why I haven't been there, it takes longer to go to Provo than it would go to Moscow. You know, it's crazy.
a long trip.
It takes 3 flights.
Yeah.
You know, but you have these what I call secondary tiers, such as mine. Secondary tier, which are the top in science fiction, the top festival. So you have to know where can you get in, and then launch. Because if you launch at any one of them, you're going to get in
It's a domino
effect. Yes.
And Woods Hole, I think for you, Spencer, was quite a domino effect. And for anyone who's listening, if you are a local filmmaker, look to your community and the states that you live in. Go in Film Freeway and Google the state that you live in. I wish people wouldn't sleep on New Hampshire Film Festival. It is a Oscar qualifying festival in beautiful Portsmouth, New Hampshire. That's my stomping ground, so I'm very excited about it. But I keep telling people, it's like the Sundance of New England.
Wow.
It just feels that special. We've also, what else do we have? We have Boston Underground. We have Boston Sci-Fi. We have IFFB. IFFB, God, the lines are down the hall. People are waiting to go to these films. You know, look to your local film festival. How can you be a champion? And then let the domino effect take hold. Someone else wants to know what's going on, why your movie was so special.
Yeah, what happens to films? A lot of times, if a film is selected or wins at a festival, other festivals are looking at these and they're contacting us.
Yep.
Please send us the contact information for those films. Or they just reach out easily if you have a really good profile.
Look at where it's being played. Look on Film Freeway. You are a detective. Who's running it? Where is it hosted? I mean, Roxbury International Film Festival, they play films at the MFA of Boston. I mean, that's an amazing location. So, you know, I think I looked the other day, I was like, oh, I'm going to submit to a festival that's in a town near a family member where I can stay affordably. And guess what? They have a beautiful location that I want to go to, too. So use it to your advantage. Make this like a trip for yourself. And it should be a fun experience to meet people who are championing your films.
Another thing that you can do, Spencer, is merchandising. Mm-hmm. Merchandising. Spike Lee wrote the book on merchandising. And he would, when he had his first films, She's Gotta Have It,
Yep.
he said he sold so much money, he made so much money selling shirts. Selling shirts.
Surprised.
Not making money selling shirts, but it promoted his film by selling them for little to nothing, almost giving them away, because everybody started seeing this name, and nowadays you put a QR code on it, right? and it helps it get out there. Believe it or not, the best markup is in buttons, magnets.
Magnets and buttons?
Yes.
Okay, that's
they
pretty
cost
cool.
50 cents and you sell it for $5. Look how much y'all sell it for on your website. You know, I was shocked anyway. But they're selling buttons and stuff for like $5 or $10 for. It costs 50 cents to $1.
I'm not gonna lie. Another shout out to another amazing festival event. No one's ever heard of Fantasia, the biggest genre film festival in North America.
Fantasia is in
Montreal, Canada.
Montreal.
It feels like you're in baby Europe, but there was one thing I loved about being there recently. There were so many pins and T-shirts and so much merch, and I took it all home with me. And guess what? I followed them all on Instagram, and you know what? There's a follower right there. So yes, merch is very important.
Take advantage of that.
Take advantage of your merch. I love
that.
that.
And when you're making these sci-fi films, you know, you've got, and of course there's lo-fi and hi-fi. All right,
Lean into it.
I'm gonna do lo-fi. You know, it's just story. I'm not saying just, but it's story. So it's whatever you're doing in story, right? But hi-fi sci-fi, they've got the uniforms, the costumes, the wardrobe, the mecha, the spaceships, and all that. Bring that stuff to the festival. Yes, you might end up selling it, but if you can manufacture it in mass, you could sell your costumes. You could wear your costumes. You know, at MiSciFi, we love that because we love the cosplay.
Yeah,
You know, we love
course.
cosplaying and
Even if it's
landing
not for you,
parties.
you can enjoy it. You take
Yeah.
pictures with people.
Yeah, people. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this: like, when I feel like I can be myself, I was at Fantasia this last summer, and I wore my never-ending story necklace, and I saw people who knew exactly what it was. I found my people. You should feel comfortable and excited about the environment you're in.
Yep.
Is are you having a good time? Are you meeting great people? You have come to a great festival. That's what I always say. That's the vibe for me, and I'm like, all right, the vibe is good. So yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I know we're getting pretty close to the end. Does anyone in the audience have any more questions before I have like the last two discussions? Anybody? Go ahead.
You were talking about AI before, and it seems like with the budgets to do special effects, that science fiction is sort of an obvious place for that to, not to make a whole movie, but for it to play a role in production. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, so we've been very fortunate. We had on board Samuel Rizou. Samuel Rizou, he's one of the VFX guys in Andor. So you remember Andor when the stormtroopers are going down in Gorman? That was the Gorman Resistance.
Great.
That was one of the pivotal elements. But he made that scene. One of the people who made that scene, and they use there's a company that he works with called Hybrid or whatever. But he gave a lecture at the Outer Rim and at MiSciFi this year on how they use AI tools. A lot of that stuff has AI built in it, which helped them produce the visual effects faster.
Sort of like a couple years old, though, right? So,
Yeah, Andor's about 2 years old.
I think it was season 1 or season 2?
It was season 2.
It was season 2. Yeah. So Andor's about.
So we're talking a year
ago. Old. Yeah.
I was screening a for Woods Hole, and a sci-fi feature came up, and there was something so ingenious about the way that they did it without showing anything. Like it was low budget sci-fi, but you so believed the world you were in because they weren't showing you spaceships flying through the air and any sort of like elements like that can take you out of it sometimes. And when I'm seeing these AI creations, that's all it is. It's all just regurgitated stuff that completely takes you out of it. And if they had thrown, because they didn't have the budget, obviously, if they had thrown a cyborg in there or something like that, like it would have ruined the film. This particular film, because it's very difficult to do that at scale at that budget.
So we're seeing a lot more practical effects being used.
Yay! That's very good news.
Yeah, we're seeing so people are creating low budget sci-fi instead of using, computers, CGI, graphical, VFX and so forth. They're trying to minimize that and just incorporate the AI or visual effects on top of the practical effects, and it's working very well. There was a film out of Finland last year that it was at MiSciFi, but it's gaining ground now.
That's great.
About a lady who crashes on a planet. She has this robot, and she's kind of like attached to a bomb or something, and the robot has to take care of her until somebody shows up, something crazy like that. But a very low budget, but heavy on practical effects. We're seeing that every year now, more than ever before. So I'm very happy.
Awesome. That's great.
I'm very happy to see practical effects being used, because that is the counter to it'll always look better unless we decide to change how we view content. It'll always look better just because of the depth of focus.
It's good. I mean, we need to look to the future. We need to know how to work. It's not going anywhere. We've talked about it. It's not going anywhere. So we have to learn to work with it. Anyone else have any other questions? Go ahead.
So from the festival standpoint, when you're putting a festival together, getting into it, because you talked a little bit before about, getting the films out there, getting the word of mouth, how do you go about fostering relationships with the
the journalists and the press teams
very
to
good question.
get exposure for your films? Like, how do you go about developing those relationships?
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to find, how you're going to connect with those stories and those people. And we hired a publicist when we put the film out into the world, like on streaming and stuff like that. And that was amazing because she was a killer. Like, she was so good about getting us all these places and getting our actors interviews and stuff. We did a lot of groundwork in the festival zone to try to drum up some interest, and you have to always find you're into that local spot. Like, even just like Cape Cod for our film, like obviously we were filmed in Massachusetts, so it was relatively easy to get some local papers and some local press and some stories, but it wasn't as easy as you would think. It took a lot of effort, a lot of calls, and Fort Lauderdale, I went to the University of Miami, and so I was able to, get in with the school and have the school do a little press and put that information out there into the world. It's challenging, I think, because the media ecosystem is like so every single second, like, and there's so many things that they have to talk about that's not indie film.
Yeah.
But you have to find your very specific and it has to very much meet up. It's the same thing with finding your film festival. Like, you have to find the journalist who likes writing about indie film and who writes for this specific publication and wants to talk about the films in their area.
Yeah, it's you mentioned some good points, Spencer. There's and because I'm familiar with UM and all of these places, and I could tell you that the publicist is the most expensive thing in that process, but it also depends on where you're trying to get it. So the publicist, if you're trying to get into one of the really well-known festivals, the top tier, like I mentioned, you need to get one of their people to do it. Which is going to cost you, 4 figures, 5 figures, But there are other ways around that, and that's where influencers come in. So we're seeing more now. You can see a lot more of this where the big companies, the Paramounts, the big production companies, and so forth. They're now looking for influencers instead of actors. So they want people who know how to act,
Oh my.
who don't know how to act,
I don't know, I feel about that.
and I guess they could use AI to make them act.
We have AI actors now. Tilly, what's her name?
No, don't even start with me. No, I don't want to talk about Tilly. No.
All right, so
No Tilly. Keep
it,
going.
it's a very this once again, like I said in my opening, it's a great time to be a filmmaker because so many of these places don't know what they're doing, and all of these holes are just opportunities for the independent filmmaker to just shoot through and all of a sudden make $1 million for a $100,000 film.
Look at the kid who did Backrooms. Was it Curry Barker? Or forgive me for missing his name. He's an A24 film that just wrapped. 19-year-old kid did that.
So would I want an influencer in my film? Absolutely. Would I want them to probably take some acting classes ahead of time? It depends. It depends on what the role is. Right. Remember, I'm dating myself again.
Go for it.
Remember Bjork? Bjork used to date a guy named Tricky. He used to be a singer for Massive Attack, right? And she told Tricky, don't go to school. Don't go to take singing lessons, because it's going to change the way you sing. You're so melancholic with your tone that is your brand, that is your trademark. You don't want to lose that. So there's only but so much you want to do. So for someone who's an influencer, they just need to learn the rules. They need to learn the rules, which takes time. For the filmmaker that's really good but never been to film school, they need to learn the rules. They need to learn some of the technicality on how to set up those shots.
Also, please watch some classic films, please.
Well, that's how you do it. Or you go to a film school like Tish, and you learn how to do this stuff. Take half a year and learn how to do this, because it's going to just make a better version of you. You want to keep the version of you. You just want to add to that, right? So it's in the context of getting press, so forth. For MiSciFi, we do a lot of it in house. You know, we slam those hashtags and tag people that don't want to be tagged. You know, spend money on it and get some exposure from that perspective. But when you want to get international recognition, you need to have some really good press, draft, write up stuff, content, because those are those independent voices that you need. That's highly valuable. That give you the credibility, your film or your festival, the credibility that it needs.
Also, just to chime in, I won't make it a big thing, but I feel like if you're a filmmaker, you make a film, it's your first time, and all of a sudden you get into Sundance, and it's because all these producers took you there, and then you have a difficult time making your second film. That happens a lot. Really lean into knowing how the process works on your own so you can be an independent filmmaker.
Yes.
I have time for one more question from you guys, so I would like to ask the traditional question, what's coming up for you next, but then I want to add one more, is what did you learn, like what do you wish you knew before? What's the best advice to tell people, like, I'm going to Film Freeway, I'm ready to my festival circuit. What's one piece of advice you really want to give them?
One's going to be hard because I have a lot.
All right, give me two.
And it is informing my next project, like,
Perfect.
Really heavily.
Perfect. Go for it.
So I have a feature film that I wrote about a young couple trying to have their first child, and unfortunately having a miscarriage, and the trials and the hardships that come from that kind of decision and that kind of tragedy that befalls them. But again, like I talked about, I find a lot of healing in humor, and so it's more along the lines of a 50-50 or a film like The Big Sick. So it is a comedy. It's a Judd Apatow style comedy, and it's right now with a production company, and we're in development, pitching it to actors and to producers, and we've had some wonderful conversations, and it feels like it's moving closer every single day. But there are thousands and thousands of little things, because we did the Compatriots like completely independently, and was a massive learning experience in so many different ways, and everything from directing.
You should teach a master class at some point.
Yeah, I have a lot. I do. I have a lot of thoughts. I've actually been on my YouTube channel, like, going through scene by scene and breaking down different aspects of the film in like 10 to 15 minute increments.
That's great.
Literally scene by scene, because as you can attest, there's so many little decisions that go into every minute of a film, and so I wanted to point out the people and the places that really helped us get there. In terms of film festivals, one little nugget of advice that I got later in the game, I know we talked about don't shotgun submit. One thing that really helped was when I did eventually get into the Woods Hole Film Festival. We won Best Narrative Feature there, the Audience Award. What I did with that information was any outstanding film festival that I was waiting to hear from, I found the festival director, I found the email of the festival director, and I said, hey, here's our film. We just won this award at this film festival. I want to let you know, like, we're in consideration at your film festival, so I'm just reaching out to say hi. And that was super helpful. That got us,
I'm taking that nugget with me. Thank
you.
you.
That one's amazing. And then the other thing, film festivals you haven't submitted to yet, what you do is you take that information as well. Like, I went to this film festival, we sold out. That's what they really want to know is, can you like drive people to the theater? We sold out. We won the Best Audience Award. Is my film something that your film festival could see screening? And here's the trailer. And what that does is they'll watch it, and people are very honest. Like, you run a festival, like film people who run film festivals are very filmmaker friendly, and they'll tell you straight up, like, no, sorry, like, we're really looking in this direction, or yes. And when I got those yeses, about 50% of the time they offered me a waiver code to submit to those film festivals.
Or a discount.
Yeah.
Either one is great.
Yeah. I got discounts. I got full, like, free submissions, and I got into 80% of those film festivals after that fact.
This was a really good night. Everyone should listen to that.
Yeah. So that's huge. It did take getting into one reputable film festival, but once you do that, because your film will get into a film festival, like, don't despair. It can feel tough at times. but then use that to your advantage. Don't be annoying. Like, don't like pester somebody. Send that email once, and if you hear from them, great. If you don't submit. Don't waste your money.
It's a little bit like dating.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
What was the question one last time? I don't wanna-
So the question is a piece of information that you want to like really give out, like a little nugget about film festivals, and then something that's upcoming for you this year, either about your festival, yourself, etc.
There's a couple things. If you have a film in a festival, almost always somebody asks you what's next. That next needs to be at your fingertips. Whether that next is the film that you're currently making, because that's how I did it. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have the trailer to my film that I was making next
That's
in my back pocket.
Awesome.
And because they said, someone said, what's next? This was way before Journey to Planet X. This was at the very beginning. And I said, what's next is right here. You want to see it?
Hey.
On DVD. And everybody said yes. And the programmers were so kind, they threw it in and played it. That's how this all started.
Wonderful.
That's how it all started.
Yep.
I got pictures of what I looked like back then. It's totally hilarious. But if I had to go back and do it all again, I would have wanted to just understand more about the filmmaking process, more about the technicals and rights and ownership, because the content that was made prior would be priceless today if we could show it. But we'd have to go back in and re-edit, redo. We'd have to dub and take out the music because the music is actually banned.
Yeah, that's another thing.
One of the
Be
songs is
really
banned.
careful with your rights and your clearances. Make sure that that's correct, because sometimes festivals can't accept them.
That's
Unfortunately.
correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Top festivals, they're not going to play it. So they're just. We were very much guerrilla filmmakers in our earliest days. We were guerrilla film. We just took whatever. We had a DJ that made this song that was popular, and he did such a great job. We thought, we want this song, but you can't get the song anywhere. It's not even registered. It's a ban, totally banned. You can't do it. So there are ways that we would have done things, I think, a little differently. I don't know if that would have led to our success. I don't know, but just be a bit more thorough.
That's great.
That's all.
And then anything that's coming up for the festival this year? Anything that's coming
Well,
up for you?
the festival just finished,
Yep.
but
Way to go.
it was very good. We had major surprises. There's a film called Quantum Rave that is incredible. There's a film called something like, it's in Spanish, something like Flying Through the Light, which is like a zombie film that takes place in the cockpit of a plane.
That sounds awesome.
It's
great.
absolutely hilarious.
Right?
We had a couple documentary films. The Star Wars Hotel.
I've heard of it.
Remember the Star Wars Hotel? Someone made a documentary about the hotel called Halcyon Days. It's incredible. You'll cry.
Wow.
It's done very, very well. And Space 1999? So a guy named Jeffrey Morris made a documentary called The Eagle Obsession, which is about the Eagle in Space 99, how this ship is so incredible that people to this day build these things in their homes and outside. So we were very fortunate to have these films, and some of them, if it wasn't North American premiere, it was a world premiere. So it was very good. The Outer Rim is probably going to make up for a lot of that. It's going to get a lot of these films.
Okay.
And the festival probably will, the next season is MiSciFi Turtle Island. Turtle Island. So,
Okay.
do you know what Turtle Island is?
No.
Okay. What's Turtle Island?
Well, it's the whole area from Canada all the way down into Mexico. It's the indigenous land.
Yes. So MiSciFi has an indigenous component. One of our alumni, his name was Russell Bates. Anybody know Russell Bates?
No.
Russell Bates was the writer. Him and another gentleman, they were the writer that received the first Emmy for Star Trek. Russell Bates is Kiowa. and he was at the festival a couple times. He worked for the festival. He was one of the screenwriter judges, gave lectures and stuff.
Cool.
So it's the 10th anniversary of his passing, and as part of MiSciFi. So MiSciFi is going to have is going to have a strong indigenous spin to it, because we do get indigenous sci-fi.
I remember that.
You know, Gnu Benton is our lead on that, and so we're expecting to have some indigenous sci-fi films, and the festival sits on sacred ground, so it's going to be a powwow. It's going to be an intergalactic powwow.
There you go. And
That's
then
what's coming.
Lastly, I would like you guys to say where can folks find you online? Just like your handle or where websites or whatever. So you go first.
My Instagram's Spencer A. Cohen, and then you can follow the Compatriots film. The Compatriots film. It's out on Instagram. You can go to the website. And,
It's streaming now, right?
It's streaming on Apple, Amazon. There's some also free places you can watch it as well. But support your local, your local filmmaker and rent it for $5.
Okay, Troy.
And we have our Instagram handle is Miami Sci-Fi, and the Outer Rim is the Outer Rim Fest, also on Instagram, and the website is MiSciFi.com.
Great. Thank you guys very much for coming. We had a great time, and have a great fest.